Peyton Bartley from Johnson Central High School, and today I will be informing you guys about a very interesting topic, serial killers. Now, you don't really have to fear for your cereal. Your Count Chocula will still be safe, even though there are serial killers. And the first thing that I feel like we need to discuss is what is a serial killer? And a basic understanding is really what we need in order to understand what these people do. A serial killer, by definition, is someone who has murdered more than one person. They're quite different than people who just murder one person because most typically those are out of rage or just an emotion, and serial killers have something in their psychosis that makes them want to kill, therefore makes them quite different than the other killers who often feel remorse, even though a lot of serial killers don't feel that way. And then, so today in our speech, you'll learn about serial killers, what they do, how their minds work, and also 3 of the very most famous serial killers that are present in today and in history. And so, to begin with, how do people become serial killers? It's often been debated if people are born with these tendencies or if they just develop throughout the years. I believe that they were born with them because it's often shown throughout childhood a difference in how they act and how they react, and also how they were raised. And it is definitely in their psychosis and something wrong with their mind. Traits of psychotic people who believe this way often appear in childhood. Most typically, children who grow up to be serial killers they kill their animals, or they'll have early history of abuse in their family, and they're often loners and outsiders, and they don't fit in well with the crowd, which makes them alienated. Also, 43% of serial killers grew up in a single-parent home. That means that their childhood was different somewhat than most of their, fellow students in school. And then, what caused them to do it? Another major thing with serial killers is one day they just snap and they begin killing. And it's also oftentimes caused by a trigger. And triggers can be different for each person. It could just be an emotional breakup, a hard time, or if they accidentally kill someone and it releases an emotional effect that makes them want to do it more, making them serial killers. And so, now we're going to talk about one of the very famous serial killers in history, Ted Bundy. And he is often referred to as the best serial killer, and also the best definition when trying to explain serial killing. He was a very odd man, and even after they caught him, he would say weird things and talk about it and not feel any bit of remorse for all of the murders that he caused. He was born in 1946 to a single mom in Vermont, and right from the beginning, that's where it gets weird. His mom he was adopted by his mom's parents, and he was told that his mom was his sister because she was so young and it was an illegitimate birth. And from a young age, he grew up that way, believing these things to be true. And that also put him in a category at risk. As I said earlier, 43%, according to the FBI, 43% of serial killers grew up in a single parent family, which already puts them in a category for serial killing. And throughout his childhood, we have a lot of mystery. We don't know much about it. And when he was early on, he was known to be happy and popular, and he was a fairly short-tempered child. And then it all changed in junior high. He became alienated from his peers, and, in his own words, he hit a wall. While this may seem different from many high school While this may not seem different from any high school experiences, this caused something in Bundy to change. And he was quite different than how other people experienced this. When he was 14, a local 8-year-old went missing, and now they believe that that was Ted Bundy. While there's no way to prove it, once we look at his history, and we still aren't even sure how many people he's murdered or who they were and where they're hidden, we have a lot of reason to believe that he did murder that 8-year-old, or at least kidnap the 8-year-old when he was just 14, which began the whole spiral. The next serial killer that we'll be talking about today is Ted Kanisky, and he was also quite different than the others. They all are very different, yet one thing combines them all: serial killing. And Ted Kanisky was a brilliant man. At 16, he went to Harvard and he got a degree in mathematics, and he also really enjoyed biology, and he was just so smart. He was a prodigy at birth. And then, because of his smartness and his psychosis, he later went on to, he was known as a Unabomber, and he would put bombs, and he would create them, like the chemical bonds to create bombs, and send them up the mail. He has killed 3 people, and 23 were injured just because of these. And then, so the last one that we will be talking about today is Richard Cottingham. He was 34 years old when he began his serial killing, and he was a father of 3. Right before his killing began, he became separated with his wife, which was most likely his trigger. And then another interesting thing about Richard Cottingham was the type of killer he was. He was more an anger-excited killer, which is a subcategory, which means he didn't really enjoy the murder so much. He didn't care if they lived or died. He just got excitement from the pain. And so that's all he really wanted, was to watch them suffer and have pain. And so a lot of the time he would work and then he would abuse these women. And a few of them did get away since he wasn't so concerned with the murder, but most of them had been beaten and bruised so badly that they weren't able to survive. Richard Cottingham was a valued employee of Manhattan's Blue Cross and Blue Shield Company, and he almost always chose the 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. time slot for his work. This gave him ample amount of time before his 3 o'clock shift to go and find prostitutes, which was typically his victim, and do what he wanted with them. And then some nights after 11, which is a prime time to find prostitutes, he would go through and find them and murder them as well. And then, well, these 3 murderers, they were all different, and they all had different styles and different triggers, but they were all one and the same. They all had the same drive in them, and the psychosis making them want to kill and want to hurt women and children and men and all kinds, just anyone they could get their hands on, basically. And even today, we may encounter serial killers that we don't know about, and even people that were around could possibly have that trait in them, but they've not reached their trigger yet. So always be careful. Bye!